Welcome to part 4 of our Galaga tutorial. In this part, we're going to add enemies to our player or to our game here so our player can both shoot at them and be shot at by them. I'm going to go back to our main scene here to start off with. And we've got our little map here that we've created with our nice stars, which, hooray, we've got stars. And we've got a little player here that's working nicely. What we're going to add next is we're going to take a look and add a new scene for our enemies. So I'm going to do this a little bit different from last time. I'm going to go scene, new scene. Our root node, I'm going to create as an other node, and this is going to be a character body 2D. Character body 2D, create. Great. Right away, I'm going to name this enemy like that. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to save this here, Control S. And as I'm saving it, I'm going to save it in scenes here. I'm also going to change this to capital E for enemy, just because that's the convention that I like. And click save. And you can see I now have an enemy.tscene here. So I've created. It's another way of doing the same thing. We're going to use this character body here, the little running dude, and we're going to use that to detect our collisions and do our movement and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go up here. First, I'm going to add a enemy. I'm going to add enemy a.png. And you can see you can actually drag it straight into here. You should be able to drag it on here somewhere, but nice and easy there. There's our enemy. I'm going to go set the transform and reset it using that little circle button so it's at 0, 0. Right. Just like the player, I'm going to need to add a collision shape 2D. And I'm going to make it a circle. And I'm going to make it about that big, about as wide as the enemy here. So that should be great. And that should be, pretty good. Let's see, 22. That's about right. Both of these, make sure the transform is at 0, 0 for your collision shape, and it should work fine. Okay, this is going to be our enemy here. So we're going to get our enemy to fly down the scene. And we're going to get it to fly down sort of from the top as we go. Okay. So let's add a script. We're going to go add a script to our enemy here. I'm going to leave this template on node default, and the name is enemy.gd. And here's what we've got. This is going to be our code for our enemy. So we're going to need to add a little bit in here. We're going to add in first, we're going to add a variable for how fast this enemy moves. Export var speed float equals 100. Golly, this looks similar to the player, right? We're also going to give a direction for the ship, right? So export var direction vector2 equals vector2 dot down. We'll start with that. Okay. So as we go through here, these are just stuff that we can set up, and we want this enemy, we want it moving down, and we want to have a speed with it. So we're just using those pretty easy. Just like the player, we're going to add physics process delta, just like that, which is good. Make sure you spell it right. And we're going to go. We want to figure out, first off, we want to go which direction are we going to move. So I'm going to add a little comment in here just saying what direction are we going to move. Let me actually zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to see here on the video. And we're going to say velocity is the direction dot normalized times speed. Easy as that. Okay? That's all we need to do. We are getting the direction here from the direction of this enemy, from this variable here, because the enemies are going to be moving in different directions. And with the player, we got this from a vector where we detected what buttons we were pushed to control it. And for the enemy, we're specifying the direction it's moving. Okay? We're also going to do look, and this is a neat trick, so look at the direction we are moving. So maybe we want this enemy to come in at an angle. We can actually get it to look in the direction it's moving there. So look at position plus velocity, just like that. So basically we're saying look at where we are plus the velocity, and that's going to actually just say add that little bit of speed, like which direction are we moving, add that to it, and then look where we're going effectively. Kind of a neat trick. Move and collide. So we're going to do just move and collide. Now, with this move and collide here, we're taking our velocity, we're multiplying it by delta. That delta is the amount, like the time since the last frame. It should be 1/60th of a second in physics process. And then what we can do is, using this move and collide, we can later detect to see if we actually have hit the player. So we can see if we've run into them, and we can detect that to see if we collide with or possibly destroy the player, see where we get. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to save this here. We're going to go to our map scene. I'm going to go to the 2D view here, and I'm just going to go find my enemy scene here and just drag it in somewhere in the map near the top there. Okay. Notice I did this in map and not main scene. Okay. We're going to get the enemies as being part of the map, so the map will handle spawning enemies and will handle destroying them as well. So I'm going to run this here, and let's see what we get. And you should see that the enemy happily moves down and actually does smash into the player here, which is fine. But you may notice that the enemy moved the wrong way, or is pointing the wrong way. So it's moving the right direction. It's moving down. Great. Actually looks pretty good. It's moving faster than the stars there. But it's pointing the wrong way. So there's a couple of things that we can actually do here. What we can do is we can actually look at this. We could rotate the picture in the enemy. So I could take this enemy and I could rotate the picture around using the rotation here. But the problem is, and the reason I don't want to do that, if I look at all my other ships here, they're all pointing up. All of these ships are pointing up. All of my enemies' ships are pointing up here. So I don't want to have to rotate it every time we create an enemy. I just want to drag in the new picture and be done with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this in code. I'm going to go to this look at thing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do rotation plus equals pi over 2. Why pi over 2? Because rotation in Godot is in radians, and pi over 2 is 1/4 of a turn. So that's a neat little trick. If you remember your pre-cal math, it's in radians. Let's give it a try. There we go. That's better. And that ship is very nicely pointing down from there. Hooray! All right. That's all we've got. Our enemy is now working quite nicely and spawning quite nicely. See you in our next part, where we get these enemies to spawn in our map, and we get many more of them.